God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city, Oskaloosa. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Give us to be the leaders your people need. Grant wisdom to our city council, strength to find common ground, and the courage to act justly. On the election day tomorrow, we humbly pray for wisdom in choosing leaders who govern with integrity, compassion, and dedication to our communities and children's education. Bless our electoral process to reflect our values and guide our elected officials to promote justice, peace, and prosperity for all. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Almond? Here.
Burnett?
Here.
Caligari?
Here.
Comfort? Dross?
Here.
Hermson?
Here.
Ocean?
Here.
Okay. First item up on our agenda is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved for receiving comments from the community for concerns, whether or not they are included on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief, time limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so concerns may be properly researched and perhaps answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. And I'm going to pause here for a moment because this is the time of year where a lot of times this will happen, where people who are running for something will get up and try to deliver a campaign speech. Remember, you're talking to the mayor and city council only. I've had to caution people in the past when they turn to the audience and start talking to them, that sort of thing. So, what would you like the city council to know? I'll open the floor.
Hello. Nick Ryan, G51 260th Street, Oskaloosa. I ran into Bob a couple weeks ago at a candidate meet and greet, and he mentioned how dejected he was since he hadn't heard from me for a while, so I figured I'd drop in on y'all tonight. Good to see everybody again. And it worked out well because some things to talk about today. First of all, I want to thank the mayor for dropping by the county supervisors meeting and encouraging us to, make sure that we're not electioneering on the third floor. I think it worked out okay. Second of all, I got presented with, somebody brought this to my attention today. This is a letter signed by Amy Beattie from Brick and Gentry addressed to Drew McGee, who's one of the current lessees of some of the SCRA land. Basically, the letter is informing him that they're giving right of entry and inspection to Randy DeBruin, and it's an indication that his lease is not going to be renewed. The concern that I have about this, obviously the city of Oskaloosa is half of the SCRA now. My question and my concern really is how did that get decided, especially by an agency that has not held a public meeting since July of 2022, that by the way is required to hold one quarterly. So if there was any deliberation or decision making on this that wasn't made public or that wasn't open to public awareness and scrutiny and things like that, that could be problematic, and it's sort of unfortunately par for the course. I feel for both this city as well as the SCRAA. A lot of the decisions do tend to be they have the feeling of being a bit intentionally obfuscated a lot of the time, and for what it's worth, I'll keep pounding this horse until it is a bloody pulp. But the South Central Regional Airport continues to be a point of contention. and it causes frustration for Oski residents, for Mahaska residents, and it's going to continue to be a thorn in the side of the city until the right thing is done and it's taken out back, shot dead, staked through its heart, and set on fire. This has gone on way too long. This city has spent I don't know how much money losing lawsuits over the deal. It's really time for this to stop. Either you guys can do it or we're going to do it for you. It'd be really nice to see the council take action on that. That's all I have for you today. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next item up is the consent agenda. These things are all pretty much routine in nature, and so it is the habit, I guess, that we have of handling them all in a single motion. I did want to draw the council's attention to item H, which is a motion appointing representative to the Historic Preservation Commission. We have an application from Linda Howard. So we thank her for that application. Do we have a motion of support for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ocean.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Dross.
Yes.
Hermson.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Getting into the regular agenda, first off, we have an announcement of vacancies that on the various boards and commissions. Our airport commission has one vacancy. It's for a term ending December of 2027, and one vacancy for a term ending in December of 2028. Our building code board of appeals has two vacancies for regular members and for an ex officio member, and the board of adjustments. There are two vacancies for terms that are ending in December of 2024. So first item up on our regular agenda is to consider a motion to receive and file the audit report. And so I believe Mr. Atterbury is on Zoom, is that right? Teams, one of those?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Richard Atterbury, the CPA in West Des Moines, Iowa, with Martinson Company, CPA LLP. We were contracted to perform the audit for the city of Oskaloosa for the year ended June 30th of 2023. First of all, I want to thank all of the staff, Mo, and Amy, and Pam, and everybody that assisted with getting information for us for the audit. They were very good and very prompt about getting anything that we might ask for. The report is similar to what it has been in most years in the past. A couple of things different about the report this year is you did have what we refer to as a single audit this year because of federal monies that were expended exceeded $750,000, so that requires what we refer to as a single audit. Just adds a couple other schedules to the report from what it has been in the past. But the report's kind of organized. The opinion that we get on is towards the front, starts on page 5. It's kind of a 3-page opinion. Essentially, it's an unmodified opinion on the primary financial statements, which is the type of opinion you want to have. We do mention what we call an adverse opinion on the component unit, which is the waterworks, which is because it's not presented as part of this report. They have their own separate audit, and it's not included in with your report that you have before you. After that part of the report, then there's what we call the management discussion and analysis, which is kind of a recap. It starts on page 8 of the report, and it kind of summarizes what the major things that have happened during the year and some of the reasons for why things might be up or down. It's a good recap to get a quick overview of what happened during the year without having to dig through the whole long report. After that is the primary financial statements, which starts on page 16. Behind that are the notes to the financial statements, which starts on page 22. There's one new note this year, new standard that was issued by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board that had to deal with IT subscriptions, that if you have a subscription service for IT services or like software and things of that nature, that where the subscription runs for more than 1 year, then we're required to disclose that and impute an effective interest rate for paying for it over a 3-year period. In your case, I believe it was a 3-year subscription agreement that you had signed up for. The other notes are all the same, other than obviously the numbers are a little bit different from what they were in prior years. After the footnotes, given some of the supplementary and supportive schedules for some of the other numbers on the report, including your comparisons to budget, listing of some of the smaller funds, whatever, that are in the report. After that comes one of the schedules dealing with the single audits on page 70. It's the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which details out the federal monies that you spent, not necessarily the monies that you received, but it's the federal funds that were spent during the year. And as you're looking at that schedule, you see it's like almost 1.3 million, which is clearly over the $750,000 threshold for requiring that information to be reported separately in the report. There weren't any findings that we had to report in terms of things that weren't done properly or to draw to your attention or that needed corrected in the financials and procedures that you have in place. Overall, your cash balances were up about 9%. Largest increases generally occurring in your proprietary funds, which are like primarily your sewer fund. Some of that's just from normal operations, some of it because some of the COVID money was put in there for your sewer projects that you've got going on. You also had an increase, had a new fund this year dealing with the Edmondson Park cabin that was contributed to the city during the year. Overall, your receipt decreased by about $6.5 million or 24%. That's primarily due to funds that were received in the prior year from the Y for the Early Childhood Education Rec Center. Well, that was just a one-time deal the prior year, but it makes it look like your receipts are down this year, which they are, but you're not going to get those funds every year. And the disbursements also were down about 4.9 million or 21%. And again, a lot of that has to do with the Early Childhood Education and Rec Center, because you were wrapping up getting finished with most of the construction on that. Overall, your debt load decreased, I should say, by about 1.7 million. That's just primarily due to normal payments being made on the debt, and the fact that you didn't have any new bond issues during the year. But overall, I think the city is still continuing in a sound financial position. Your general fund balance decreased slightly, but it wasn't very much, so it kind of held its own. Well, that's all I kind of wanted to highlight about the report. I'll be happy to try and answer any questions if anybody has any questions for me.
Just out of curiosity, what's the reasoning behind the new reporting of IT subscriptions and such? I mean, if you go back years ago, you could make even capital purchase on a lease purchase, and it might not count against the debt. And I know they changed that, and then I think they've gone to even Chief leases a police car, a 3-year deal that you can turn it back after 3 years. That's all of a sudden debt now. And now they're considering basically maintenance or software subscriptions as debt. What's the background as to why they changed that?
You know, I don't sit on the GAFI committees or whatever, but
Yeah.
again, it's I guess to show your total obligations that you have that extend beyond 1 year on it. You know, it started out in the private industry was first adopted these new rules and had to deal with some large businesses and their ability to finance, and that they felt the financial statements were misleading to them, and then the governmental standards committee kind of piggybacked on what they had done private industry. And it's, in your particular case, it's not really overly significant, but yeah, you're correct in terms of like if you lease a police car that would be shown as debt, or anything that you might lease that's again beyond 1 year.
Darn Gatsby.
Yeah.
Gatsby and Gap and FASB and love them.
Yeah. So then on the financials, is there a matching asset to go with the debt?
Well, your financial statements are cash basis, so we don't actually recognize anything, any assets other than the cash bank accounts essentially and your investments. But we don't technically recognize your debt either, but we disclose it in the footnotes of what you're obligated for. But there's, you know, on a cash basis statement, we don't technically have a balance sheet that shows all your assets and your liabilities.
Okay. The private industry, there would be.
Normally on a, you know, if it was what we call a GAAP basis, it's generally accepted accounting principles, but
That would be
most
accrual
cities in
basis.
Iowa do not do the full accrual basis financial statements. A lot of your larger cities will do that. They will actually have assets and liability, have a balance sheet that'll have those. But majority of the cities in Iowa do not do that. The state does not require that.
Okay.
But I think we're required to do more of disclosures. We have a continuing disclosure and any commitment I think underwriters would want to look at, and the obligations, even in contracts.
When you look at our general obligation debt, it's stated we've got 13.6 million outstanding, which is down from last year because we paid some off without issuing new debt, like you said. But our debt limit's at 33 million, so we're only at about 40% of what we could issue. How does that compare to other towns our size? Or do you have a reference point there? I mean, my brain starts going, you know, what are these other projects we could do if we could issue more debt? Understanding we issue more debt, we've got to increase the debt levy to pay for it. But I'm just curious from an overall standpoint.
I don't have any actual comparisons that I can actually give you that would be reliable. Other than, you know, I have some of the clients that I work with, but I have some are in that range. I have one client that's, you know, they're up there close to their debt limit. But you know, it's some of them are. You kind of see that in some of the suburbs here around Des Moines because their infrastructure, they're having to build so much infrastructure to do with their expansion that their debt level gets up there higher, close to their debt limit.
Okay. Is there with like our general fund balance, they say, it's best practice of minimum of 3 months of expenses. Is there a standard for municipal government for where a healthy level is?
No, I think that's a good goal to have. No, I don't think there's any
Okay.
particular, you obviously need to have, a certain amount so you can be assured that you're going to be able to meet your financial obligations. But
It helps with your rating. And in terms of that, most cities will have self-imposed limit, which is for most of them 50% of the state allowable limit. So it's for financial health and also for credit worthiness and for debt to be better prices, basically.
So what you're saying, Amal, is that we still have, if we're at 40%, there's another 3 to 4 million that we could issue and still be within that.
You want to be
We can
within
still
that
be around
50% of
50.
your limit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I remember my second year of accounting when I was a college sophomore, and they said, "Oh, you'll have to look at audits at some point in your adult life." And I went, "Oh."
Here
And
you
I
are.
am.
Here-
On page 48, there's property tax, of course. But other city tax, 1.9 million. What was that revenue?
sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So it would be like loss.
Lisa.
Okay. So other city taxes, it just
Yeah.
isn't spelled out. Sorry.
Probably the bulk of the other city tax would be your local option sales tax.
Okay.
Could be like hotel motel tax.
Okay. Okay. I thought that was itemized, so, okay. Just in case there's someone else looking at this audit as well, there are public documents. Okay.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Atterbury? Okay, Sienna, thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate the presentation.
Richard?
Thank
Thank you.
We have a motion of support. Make sure I get the wording right. To receive and file the audit report and authorize payment of $10,475 to Martins and Company, and also $850 to the Auditor of State.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Almond?
Yes.
Burnett?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Dross?
Yes.
Hermson?
Yes.
Ocean?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item B is a public hearing for a proposed application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority for Community Development Block Grant, Downtown Revitalization Funds for the Downtown Facade Improvement Project, Phase 4. Sean, do you want to speak to that?
Yes. Mayor and Council, good evening. So I'm disappointed, to say the least, that even though working to the very last minute, we were unable to put together a competitive and complete project for an application to the state for the Downtown Facade Improvement Project Phase 4. So if you could maybe bring up the photos on the last exhibit there, the last attachment. So this is a 2-block section of High Avenue West, which is still mostly intact, and this is the city's original Highway 92 that went into our downtown. These buildings are occupied, and like I said, mostly intact with many of their original features. We were confident that we had a competitive application, but as you know, all of these applications and projects come down to owner participation. And for a number of very good reasons, we just couldn't come up with enough owner interest to have a project. We do need a minimum, I believe, of 7 building addresses to meet the minimum threshold for the state. All the buildings have to qualify in a number of ways. In fact, this building here in the corner, which is a great example of a original downtown historic building, it's all residential. It was converted many years ago, probably 50 years ago, before we had certain requirements for that. So that building did not qualify for the grant for that reason, because it's strictly residential now and not commercial on the main floor. So we've got a summary in here of the status with each of these property owners. But we did want to update you today. Like I said, we tried at the very last minute. We did schedule this public hearing as required by the grant. We have Brandon here from Area 15 here with us this evening as well, who can also answer questions. So I would, Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, opening up the public comments when we're done here, just to see if they have anything to add. So, however, my thoughts on this is I do not want to give up on this yet. I am interested in creating a local facade improvement grant where we could spend the money that we otherwise would have spent on the city's share for this, which would have been roughly 25% of the cost of construction, design fees, material testing fees, and other miscellaneous expenses, and creating our local program where that could be used as a match with a percentage cap, maybe a dollar cap, where the owners, if they're interested, could take this money and use that for similar improvements to these buildings. So this is just an idea at this point, but there are other Iowa communities who do this sort of thing, and I think we have some successful examples out there. I think this would help us continue the success that we've had with our downtown improvement project and help us continue that momentum. So we've got a lot to work on yet, but I'd like to put something together and see if we could find a way to fit this into our upcoming budget.
Okay. Any questions for Sean?
Just point of clarification, I'm looking at the map and the photos. This is, if you're heading north, Hy-Vee is to that, this is at that intersection?
That's correct. Yep, Hy-Vee
Kitty
is.
corner from, okay.
Yep, right behind the camera.
Is there a bus stop there or not?
There is.
Was?
Yeah, Trailways.
Okay, that's what I thought, Trailways stopped there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that building, what part is residential? I also thought there was a bar there, but maybe
No,
not.
you were talking about the next building over.
Next building
Yeah.
down.
He wasn't talking about that one. It was
Okay, so I was just, which is which, you know?
The two-story building on the corner is all residential. There's a bar, I believe it's called the Clubhouse, right next door.
Okay, okay, because that was
There's a
recently
garage
for
there,
sale, I think.
Yeah.
It was something I
building-
saw
the
when I was
building
looking for
was-
property here 6 years ago that had like 11,000 square feet of residential. Is
I think
that
there's
it?
only 4 businesses on that one part of that block, right? By that white metal building there.
Let's go back to those photos if you could.
Yeah, just so, I'm just confused which is
Yeah, I think
residential.
there's only
But
like,
it's
So-
not that block.
It's not this block. This is the 500 block. You have nutritions, a couple
Yep.
of tenant spaces in front.
Okay.
You've got, I believe it's Hot Shots Bar
Yeah.
and Grill is there. And then
Okay.
in the distance, that white building, that Quonset hut building, I think that's used for storage. And there's
Okay.
a weight club or exercise club in there.
Okay.
So that's the 500 block, and then the next photo below that is the 600 block. That 2-story building on the corner is now all
Oh, okay.
residential. And then the 1-story building just to the west or left of that is owned by the same owner. That would qualify because that is commercial, another bar
Okay.
main floor.
Yeah, when you glance at them, they're similar in the height and that, so, in red brick, but, okay.
yeah, there's a auto shop just down further from that, isn't there?
There is, there's a Haynes Auto Supply.
whatever
Yep.
the name is.
Yeah, I've always thought it was kind of a unique area that was sort of underutilized, you know, because it's got some of the windows and, you know, some interesting details.
Well, Sean, I like your idea of you know, we were, I think, my mind conversation we've had before is that this was going to move forward, and so thinking that we were going to allocate this money anyway, as you were saying. And I think this goes along with what we've talked about, housing trust money, and how are we utilizing the funds we've already got earmarked for things, and how can we do that better? And I know that the owner of that building right there that is mostly residential has applied for other grants to update
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
to do those
Yeah.
renovations, to bring it up to a higher standard, and he didn't get the one
Yeah.
grant I'm thinking of. So I know there's interest locally to do that, and long term, it's not just him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always admired the communities that have that mix of the brand new apartments and some of the renovated. And when we went to that reception in Cedar Rapids, it was a very nice example of that renovated, you know, warehouse space, if you will. So.
Any other comments for Sean? Question.
One more. Would an independent grant have a little bit more flexibility than, say, the facade grants? I know there'd been some complaints that you had to have a certain color scheme and certain historic factors, and some people understand that, and others it gets overwhelming. So I didn't know what flexibility we'd have having our own.
Yeah, yeah. I think we would have some additional flexibility keeping this local where we would not be held to the state historic preservation office standards. There would be many similarities, and I think it would be in the city's best interest to perhaps follow our own downtown design guidelines, which we do have on the square in the historic district, to make sure that the work to the windows and masonry features would be appropriate for the building.
Yeah, I know in Dubuque there was some controversy because you put a balcony on something new, or would that not qualify? And whereas it could make it more rentable. So.
Some of these buildings are easily seeing expenses, $100,000 or more, especially these corner buildings, just at Tuck Point alone. So some of this work is just it's a burden on some of these owners, and I think this grant could help go a long way in helping to preserve these buildings.
Yeah, yeah. And considering what happened in Davenport, we'd be well served maintaining our buildings.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay. So as mentioned in the agenda, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Yeah, I guess we don't really need to have any kind of a vote on this, so we'll move on. Okay, item C. This is to consider a resolution approving a professional services agreement with HR Green for the professional services on the 2023 EPA Brownfields Community-Wide Assessment Grant. City of Oskaloosa would like to enter into a professional services agreement with HR Green for services on the EPA Brownfields Community-Wide Assessment Grant. Staff sent out a request for proposals developed in accordance with the EPA guidance on competitively procuring a contractor. Received 4 responses from qualified firms. Staff ranked the proposals based on their ability to complete all requirements, the ability to perform projects in the public sector, understanding the scope of the project and the price reasonableness, and conducted secondary interviews with the highest scoring firms. Based on these results, staff believes that HR Green is the most qualified firm to perform the required work. HR Green has provided the attached agreement that we have for a total amount of $297,500 to perform services related to program implementation, community involvement, completing phases 1 and 2 of the environmental site assessments, and reuse planning. All these tasks are eligible to be reimbursed with no matching funds from the city under the grant. The agreement would span the entire 4-year grant period, which begins in October of 2023, ending in September of 2027. Staff is recommending approval. Do we have a motion to that degree?
So move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Sean got our presentation for
Sean?
you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you said, we sent out a request for proposals based on the Brownsfield proposal that we had. Just a brief background for anyone in the audience who's not familiar. Brownsfield are properties which have real or perceived environmental issues that need to be addressed before a property owner might be willing to develop on it. And it's important to remember that perceived is a part of this. It can be a site that has no problems whatsoever, but if someone believes there is, then there's a problem. So by doing these assessments, we're able to clear properties that say, no, there's not these problems, or yes, there are problems, but here's how you can work with the property and still develop it. Or sometimes, yes, there just needs to be a cleanup, and that's the next step. The EPA did change their selection guidelines from our previous grants, and so they provided this guidance on procuring a contractor. This is actually the first 2 pages. It's very detailed. So those criteria were used to make sure that we followed the necessary steps to select a contractor appropriately. One that they were very detailed on is that there did need to be that cost reasonableness consideration. So that is so this was all done according to the guidance that the EPA sent out. The 4 responses we received, we did a ranking based on the proposals, and again, we did a follow-up interview with the top presenters to ensure there was nothing that was missed in the ranking phase, anything that we wanted to clear out, that type of thing. Based on all of that information, we did decide that we wanted to recommend HR Green. They been very successful in our previous grants, and their application was once again very strong. Obviously, with the EPA's guideline, previous grants were really relevant to our selection, but it is true. And one thing that we really liked about their approach was there was a strong focus on the redevelopment of these properties. And one thing that we have been very strong in, compared to many communities, is our redevelopment rate on brownfield properties has been very high. A lot of communities have had times where they did an environmental site assessment, they put it on a shelf, and nobody ever did anything with it. Our communities had a much, much higher rate of getting this evaluation done, and then it turns into a project. Yeah, I'm not going to say we've had 100% redevelopment, but we've done much better than other communities. So that was kind of our driving force in why we really felt that they had a stronger application. And then just for some information, these are some of our targeted sites. Obviously, owner participation is a huge part in what sites end up getting done. We want to participate with property owners who are interested, not in asserting an assessment on the property owners not. So the Kmart, the old Kmart area, that's one of the vacant lots that we would like to target. There's the manufacturing vehicle storage that's on South 7th Street, which is another primary target. This was actually one that was targeted on the original grant that the city got in 2014. But at that time, the property owner was not interested in participating.
Wonder why.
And since that time, it's come under new ownership, and that owner is interested in participating in this program. And then there's the old railroad tracks, which is also the Schrago's salvage yard, and that owner is also interested in participating in the program. So we have some strong sites with a lot of interest for this grant that we feel HR Green is very well positioned to assist us with getting this work done.
Okay. Good work.
Thanks, Sean.
Well done.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion of support considering the resolution approving the professional services agreement with HR Green?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
We had one.
We did. Okay, sorry about that.
I thought we did.
We're going to double down.
Double down. We're double down.
Council is fast.
Double motion
It is. I'm getting wowed by the presentation and the technology and the colors. But roll call, please.
That was a nice presentation.
Burnett.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know maybe there was going to be a third. I didn't know.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Strauss.
Yes.
Hermison.
Yes.
Ocean.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Okay, this ought to be like in the federal legislature. A good idea gets all the sponsors in the room.
That's right.
Motion at all. Okay, that passes. Item D, we're considering a resolution accepting substantial completion on the work done by Caliber Concrete on the Edmonton Playground Improvement Project. Stuart?
Yes, Mayor. Yeah, we were just would like to make the recommendation to accept substantial completion on the infant playground. We were able to get the safety surfacing certification. If you drive by, you can see that the substantial completion has been reached. In the consent agenda items, there was a payment that also signifies substantial completion. So we've also invited many supporters to attend via online or in person that help make this project go as well as yourselves. So yeah, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Anything left to do? You say substantial completion, that means that it's not 100% or?
We have a few remaining punch list items to clean up this spring, but with the timing of completion now and temperatures, we'll need to come back.
Sweet. All right.
Like seating and
Right.
those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Excepting the seating, if you drive by, you can see that most of it's growing, but
The water fountain.
Okay.
There was a ton of kids there yesterday when we went by there. Yeah. A ton of kids on there.
You wait 'em.
This weekend.
And the blacktop looks really nice too on the entrance
Oh,
there
yeah.
too.
So you was at the playground, huh?
Hey, you know, I did drive by.
And the
Yeah,
lion,
you
little
probably went on the
lion's
rocket
head is
slide,
great.
didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Squeaky guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any individuals in particular that were involved in the fundraising or that you would want to call out?
Here tonight is Vicki Colette with the Golden Goose Club.
Diana.
Diane was not able to attend, but we have reached out to her and let her know that we would like to hopefully have her attend next spring when we do a ribbon cutting ceremony there. And as part of the ribbon cutting ceremony, hopefully we have our Lions fountain
Yes.
installed, possibly a free little library installed as well.
Yes.
So a lot of excitement around the park, and the rocket slide is completed and up and going as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. So our agenda item is to consider the resolution accepting substantial completion. Yeah, do we have a motion of support?
Sec.
Okay, discussion. Pretty crowded over there.
It was. Yeah.
Folks are noticing and kids are loving
A
it.
lot of kids.
Roll call, please.
Caligiuri.
Yes.
Drost.
Yes.
Hermson.
Yes.
Ocean.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E. This is a discussion regarding use of public park space for a storm siren. The Public Works staff would like to discuss a proposal for use of park space in Edmondson Park for a storm siren. A new siren in this area of the city is desirable, as the existing sirens are not audible from this location. Space in the park was requested to be used to avoid conflicts with utilities in the adjacent public right-of-way. Sean?
Yeah, so this is overall pretty straightforward. There is a need for a siren in this area of town. Normally it would be placed in the right of way and it wouldn't even be coming here to you, but due to just some other utility conflicts and the public space of Edmondson Park being right there, we've been requested to place that siren in Edmondson Park, just behind the sidewalk adjacent to the right of way. But technically speaking, this is on the city parkland, not on public right of way. So we did consult with the city attorney, Dave Dixon, a bit about how to move forward with this. I believe we had some discussion of having it be a leasing agreement with no
A license.
or a couple of other possibilities.
Yes.
It'd be more of a license.
That would be correct. A license in real estate terms is actually permissive use of real estate, unlike a lease, which may be for a longer term or something. With a license, I give you the right to park your boat on my land as long as I want, but I can revoke the license anytime I want and say, move your boat.
Oh, really? So it's revocable?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I was going to come over tonight, but maybe not.
But it's nice if we do it that way. Obviously, you avoid issues of rental payments, things like that. There is, of course, as Amy will readily tell you, an issue anytime you're using city property for some private use, but this is the one there is benefit in there for the city with the siren too. So I think it does clear that hurdle, but I think a license would be the way to go rather than a formal lease.
Okay.
Sean, what, in regards to the baseball field and the new play, where is?
This is essentially at the southeast corner of the park along the sidewalk.
Okay.
It's the closest thing that there would be to this would be there's one of the starting points for the Frisbee golf course,
Okay.
but that points into the park, whereas we'd be between the sidewalk and where that path is. So there's really no interference with any use that anyone would really have that I can make out. It's a pretty inconspicuous location.
So, this is a storm siren, right?
Yes.
And we lease it? It's not our siren?
Well,
You
no.
got me all, I don't
Yeah.
understand all this.
Yeah, I don't either.
So you're saying all the sirens in town are leased?
I'd just like
No.
to this a little bit.
No.
In 2015,
Please go to the microphone.
Mike.
in 2015, there was an agreement signed between the city and EMA. The city brought all the sirens up to a condition, and then they were turned over to EMA to handle. This would be an EMA siren as well.
Oh, so we're renting things from EMA?
There's no cost on that.
Oh, no cost.
So they would pick up the cost of putting in the tower, putting in the siren, all that stuff. We
Yes,
just have to let them plant it there.
There's no cost to us, it's just the land that they're asking for being it is in city property.
Obviously, too, we'll put language in the written license agreement for indemnification for us to be held harmless from any injuries or anything.
Okay. But as far as getting it powered and all that sort of thing, that's all being taken care of by EMA?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else on that tower besides just the storm siren? Like, would we anticipate cell phone or any other kinds of?
We wouldn't. This in particular is going to be solar powered, so this actually won't have any connection to really anything. It'll just be kind of its own freestanding, self-powered
Okay.
facility.
Solar powered?
Yes.
Any trees around the area? Okay.
Not taller than it's going to be.
No.
Big tower.
Is it gonna talk like the other siren? That one? That one kind of freaks me out, but.
My understanding is it'll be the same as.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
So I guess the question I would have moving forward is that they're hoping to move forward sooner. So normally I think in our discussion, an agreement like what was proposed might come to the council, but I think they're hoping to have this installed in the next couple of weeks. That's kind of the reason we put this on the agenda. So we wanted guidance on if council would be all right with us moving forward with an agreement under the authority of the city manager, or if this is something that we should bring back at another council meeting and give them some preliminary approval, and then an agreement comes before council. What form of agreement do you guys want to see for us to get this done?
Well, what constitutes it needs to come back to council? To me, that sounds like just a typical city job. You know, me, that's me.
And if we don't own it.
It's like, you're gonna come to council, put up a fence?
Make it happen.
It's, whatever, I don't see any reason for it.
I mean, if we had the agreement in front of us, we're gonna ask David if he approves of the agreement. And if he's writing the agreement,
Quite
then.
frankly, I'll be the one drafting it.
So,
Okay. So I'm reading consensus from the council that can go to the city manager for.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Seems reasonable enough. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that gets us to the end of our regular agenda. Reports from city staff, city manager, anything?
I just wanted to underscore having clean audit this year and a couple years in a row. When you look around to the cities around us and you see cities having at least 1 or 2, 3 findings in their audit, it makes you proud. I just wanted to call that out. It speaks to our process and commitment to control. Kudos to Amy and to city staff and leadership for doing what they're doing to make sure we have a clean audit. Basically, it's a testimony that everybody is following city process, and we all should be proud of that.
Very good. Okay. City clerk, anything?
No, sir, thank you.
Good. Okay. City attorney, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Council members, comments. Steve Burnett.
Yeah. Hey, somebody said there's an election tomorrow night. Most of these people up here know that about 3 months ago I made it known that I had no intention of running for city council again. 0. And I thought I gave him plenty of time to find somebody to run in my place. And evidently that didn't happen. So I am running tomorrow night. But I've seen some commentary that has nothing to, well, it does have something to do with me, not maybe particularly, but I just wanted to comment on real quick. So I pulled some quotes out of this commentary because, you know, I grew up on a farm and I'm just tired of the bullshit. So here we go. This person's very much for fixing roads and infrastructure, like nobody up here's done shit about it in the last 10 years. This council has spent over $32 million in the last 3 years on infrastructure. There's no other funding available. So this person, please step forward and show us where you're going to get the funds to do what you say you're going to do. He will represent the people and not big business elites. I'd like him to be specific as to what you're referencing here. I've seen some other references on a website. It's total bullshit as well. And, you know, I work at Musco. I've been there for 8 years, and I've had one specific conversation with a member of management in 8 years about the city, and it had to do with single hauler trash. This person's all for having the right to petition their government and practice their First Amendment rights. My question is, where's your First Amendment rights been violated? he's not going to be bought. I mean, so my question is, who's been bought, and please support your accusations with substantiated facts. He wants to make positive change for the community. I'm curious what those changes would be. Is he going to put another playground in that we just saw that cost $1 million? Is he going to refix a post office that's been dead for 20-some years probably? I don't know, but I'd be interested. What's interesting about this, though, is this commentary was written by someone who stated that they felt the change from 4 lanes to 3 lanes on Highway 92 was a poor decision, and the reason they said that is because it took them an extra 5 minutes to get their children to school. My recommendation is get your butt out of bed an extra 5 minutes early. When it was explained by city staff, Sean did a great job, that the change was made on copious amounts of data proving improved safety, the response was, oh, that's fake news. This person also stated the need for more improvements in infrastructure, and this council should begin with Highway 63 south of the square. Wow, Highway 63 is a state highway, and it'd be a total waste of our community's taxpayer dollars to use city funds to repair that road. But we're going to elect this person. So you see, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, doesn't make it right, leadings work. It's more than a bunch of populist one-liners that make those that are uneducated or unknowledgeable feel good about themselves. If you're going to come into the arena that I'm in, you better become prepared to do the work, because I don't have time for your feel-good one-liners. Go vote tomorrow, people. Just go vote. I'm done.
Okay. Who are you on, Rhonda?
I just like to reiterate, please go vote.
Okay. Bob?
Nope.
Okay. Janet?
Today is the deadline for the Lighted Christmas Parade floats, so please get those in if you haven't submitted your application. And I would just like to kind of comment off of Steve. I don't think people understand how much time we put into this position. We volunteer countless hours reading agendas, going through stuff, listening to people, and you know, we're here to listen, and we are here for the community. That is what we do. We don't have personal agendas. And so please go vote tomorrow. We appreciate your support.
Joe?
Nothing.
Okay. Lisa?
Yes. I once read that it's a sign of a person's character, but I also think a community's character and how one or they treat other people's children. Not your own children, but other people's children. And so I would really like to compliment Oskaloosa. I don't have little kids here and that, but the playground, to build that is just incredible. And to see little kids, playing and that isn't something we had to do, but we did. And I also want to really compliment Oskaloosa on trick-or-treat night. It cost me so much money. And my husband made me go to Aldi's, and I loaded up the cart, and the guy was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, lady? But I said, well, you wouldn't believe the trick-or-treating that we have. And we had well over 1,000 kids at my house. And it was so much fun, though it was so cold. And my Lions Club was there with the Lions outfit and the stickers. And I never got to go trick-or-treating because I grew up on a farm. And unlike Steve, I, as a woman, have to use polite language. We give you some latitude.
What the people understand, right? So,
right. But I grew up in the country
audience.
and didn't get to go trick-or-treating. And so some people were like, no, just make them one candy or don't let her. I'm like, no, this is the kids' night. And for once, there's a buffet of candy and stickers and just enjoy. So I really want to, when I tell other people, they're like, 1,000, you got to be exaggerating. Like, no, we really do. So there are some wonderful things that we do in this community, unlike anyone else. And I also have to comment, too, Bob, I have taught essay writing for a long time, like 30 years. You got it.
Thank you.
You had the intro, you had the numbered points, you had the detail, you had you had it all. I mean, well done.
Thank you.
No one ever gets an A+ on writing because there's something, but it was a darn A.
It's a good day. Thank you, Lisa. It's a good day.
It's like, wow, this is really, and if it hadn't been, and I don't like social media, but it hadn't been for our police chief here, I know. Follow him on LinkedIn. It's the best photos. Yeah. So that's my compliments to the community.
Okay. Very good. Where'd you go to school?
Oskaloosa.
Okay, good enough for me.
I survived Oskaloosa High School. Everybody else can too.
Darn it, darn it.
It's
Can
good.
So may I use this
now I
for
should
my
say
classes?
Oskaloosa contributed to the success. I survived Iowa State. Is that better? Is that better, Steve?
I know.
I survived the rocket slide.
Yes.
Yeah, and the only a couple of things from me, and then we'll call it a night. Compliments again to Amy. That I've been blessed by being able to be on city council. So there was 14 years of that. I've been able to be mayor. I'm finishing my 14th year of that. And we have clean audit after clean audit after clean audit. So when Marilyn Miller was doing it, she was working very hard to educate her staff up. When Amy Miller took over, the only person who might have had some doubts was Amy Miller. All the rest of us thought this is someone who can step up into anything that is put before her. And she has, even the time the city council said, well, why don't you be city manager for a while we get, some things figured out. So anyway, high compliments to the finance department, but to you in particular, Amy. So job well done. And lastly, please vote that the folks that are on the ballot are people who have an interest in running. And so it's our responsibility as voters, who's the best person for the times now, the best package. Please vote. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.